Everyone is worried about the Green Bay Packers red zone offense. I'm not, and I'll tell you why. Plus, our pal Lily Zhao joins us for a post-Bears win. Zhao, you doing?
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers, the number one Packers podcast on the internet. And the show for fans who know what happened, they want to know why and how. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. You can start this playoff push with big returns on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. The red zone offense is a problem for the Green Bay Packers. They're converting by touchdown percentage less than 49% of their drives in the red zone. That's true, and still, this is one of the best offenses in the league. And just to drive that point home, the Packers are actually right now, I tweeted this out yesterday, I got the number wrong. They were 5th in DVOA coming into the week. They are now 3rd in offensive DVOA. 3rd. With a bottom 6 red zone offense. That is impossible. That's crazy. But it's true. And it's true because down to down, play to play, this has been one of the best offenses in the league. And the reason I'm not worried about it is because in 2020, when the Packers were an all-time red zone team, when they were one of the best offenses we've ever seen, they kind of melted down in the postseason because red zone can be pretty noisy. It can be a weird stat. The Packers defense, awesome on 3rd down this year, except the last game that they played in against one of the worst 3rd down offenses we'd ever seen the week before. These small sample sizes, weird things can happen. And just think about, and not to get too statistically nerdy here for a second, but let's say you have a data set that says a thing, 100 points of data say a thing. And then you have this other set of data over here, but it's 10 points of data and it says the opposite of that thing. Well, which one do you think is right? Which one do you think is more reliable, is a better quality set of data? We know the answer. The problem is, as I pointed out, one game can be your season. But let's take this season for the Green Bay Packers. 3 losses. They lose to the Eagles by 2 points. Remember missed kicks in that game. The penalties were crazy in that game. The Packers sleptwalked to 414 yards of offense, 7.1 yards per play in that game. They were 1 for 4 in the red zone. Those numbers don't add up. And they are not sustainable. If the Packers continue to be as efficient as they are, down to down, play to play, we would expect those red zone numbers to regress to the mean in a positive way for the team. Against the Vikings, 465 yards of offense, 6.3 yards per play. They went 4 of 5 in the red zone in that game. They beat themselves with some bad turnovers and some bad defense. They got kind of bum rushed by the Vikings in that game. And they still fought back. Because again, down to down, play to play was not the problem. It was a couple weird mistakes. A couple weird mistakes can end your season. A couple weird mistakes can be the difference between being the division winner and you're fighting for a playoff spot. This is true right now of the Packers with the Lions, who down to down, play to play. They were 4 of 12 on third down, but score a pair of touchdowns on fourth down. The Bears can't convert a third down all year. They convert more third downs in one game than they did in a month. And then they convert a couple fourth downs too. The Packers have allowed 5 of 5 in the last 2 games on fourth down. Teams are just not going to keep doing that. That can be true, and yet in one game, it can sink your season. But I can't worry about that. I can't worry about the outlier game. And right now, the Packers are having an outlier season in the red zone, but the offense is really, really good. Take the game before this Bears game. 411 yards of offense for the Packers. 6.6 yards per play. They were 1 of 4 in the red zone. The Packers got into the red zone 5 times against the Bears, but in the 2 times that they didn't score, they came away with 0 points. Not just no touchdowns, 0 points. A turnover on downs, which Matt LaFleur said he thought was the right call in the moment. Their analytic model said it was the right call. And then there was the interception. That just is a miss from Jordan Love. It's actually why I think Jordan Love is going to get better in the second half, because he's been really unlucky converting turnover-worthy plays into turnovers. Usually, you don't have a 1-to-1 turnover-worthy play rate with your actual turnovers. Usually, it's like 0.7 or 0.8. Not to even worry about that. Not every turnover-worthy play becomes a turnover generally. Jordan Love had 1 bad throw against the Bears, and it turns into an interception. That's a weird thing. That is not the kind of thing that is going to sustain over the course of a season. That's why when you get these lucky breaks, you have to take advantage of them. And so I'm not worried about this red zone offense, not because I think the red zone offense has been good. It hasn't. There's been issues, and it's been the same issues that when the whole offense has not been working great, that's what happens. It's penalties, it's drops, it's a misread, it's a missed assignment. But when you look at this Packers team in the aggregate, they're a really, really, really good offense. Imagine what they could be if they just translated that into the red zone. The only teams right now better by offensive DVOA are the Ravens and the Lions. And the Ravens were on a historic pace until guess what happened? Some weird things happened in the red zone for the Ravens. And they're all-world kicker missed some kicks. Weird things can happen in small sample sizes. I'm not going to freak out about what is to date a small sample size. But none of that is to say that a red zone issue in a big game down the line can't doom the Packers. It can, but I just can't worry about that. I just can't worry about that because this is a really, really good offense. And I expect really, really good offenses to eventually just be like fine in the red zone. The Packers were fine, 17th in red zone efficiency last year, scoring touchdowns. They're 27th this year. That doesn't make any sense. When they're a better offense, that doesn't make any sense. And it's going to change just because that's how this works. Lily Zhao is on the show today, and we are going to talk to her about a Bears win that, I don't know, it felt good and it felt kind of yucky at the same time. We'll talk to Lily about that next on Locked On Packers. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at Zbiotics. Pre-alcohol probiotic drinks like Zbiotics. They're the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. I went on vacation recently with my wife. I forgot to bring them. And let me tell you, I felt it. I felt the difference. The kids are at home with the grandparents. And so you get to have a little wine and not worry about, having to have responsibilities in the morning. That's the beauty of vacation. Well, I didn't feel great because I wasn't taking my pre-alcohol. The thing is alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that makes you feel bad. Zbiotics, if it's your first drink of the night and then you drink responsibly, you'll feel your best tomorrow. You take it with your first drink of the night, pace yourself, hydrate, Get some good sleep if you can, and then the pre-alcohol is going to make you feel better in the morning. Go to Zbiotics.com/LockedOnNFL to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use LockedOnNFL at checkout. Zbiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to Zbiotics.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL at checkout for 15% off. Today's episode also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook gives you everything you need right in one place to live bet on the NFL. And it is something that I use. I live bet. I'll hedge live or maybe just pull up a future. Talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I have them under 7.5 this year. Now I kind of think they're going to win the division. I like their odds. I got them at 4-1 on FanDuel to win the division. That's a beautiful hedge. That's a beautiful hedge coming at you. Packers 1.5-point favorites against the San Francisco 49ers, which means FanDuel thinks that this game is basically a coin toss. That's how it feels to me. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Joining me now after a game where there was never any doubt the Green Bay Packers would win. Not for 1 second did anyone think this game was over. No, a pretty lucky, but still thrilling Packers victory, and they will never apologize for beating the Chicago Bears. That is for damn sure. Lily Zhao from Fox 6 in Milwaukee joins us now. Lily, I'm going to ask how you doing, but I need to know, what was your experience? Because I know you were there with the kick. How did you watch it? What happened? Walk us through it.
Right. So I was blessed to be at Soldier Field that day, and just we have to do our media things. I'm in the bowels of Soldier Field. I'm underneath, and the live game action always is a little bit earlier than the TV broadcast, so that's what we were watching down there. And I'm just waiting to hear just the eruption of Bears fans. Like, I'm thinking the stadium's going to shake. I'm going to hear a bunch of cheers, and that's when I know that the Bears kicked a game-winning field goal, and I just don't hear anything. I'm like, am I not hearing anything? Is it just well insulated? I don't know what's going on. And then the broadcast comes on and you see the block from Carl Brooks. And I'm like, that is why I didn't hear an eruption of cheers. And that was a fun experience. It was a really fun experience. So overall, it was a great day to be at Soldier Field, I guess, if you're a Packer fan. So I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm good. People won't believe this. That's fine if you don't. I am, when I watch the game, I'm pretty quiet. Whether I'm watching the game by myself in my office, which is where I usually watch the game, or whether I'm at the game in the press box, whatever, I'm very even keeled. And I can probably count on one hand the number of times where, especially since I've been doing this professionally, where I have excited utterance during a game. And I remember the Lions Hail Mary, Aaron Rodgers to Richard Rodgers. I was at the Sports Illustrated offices. I screamed out. He caught it. I couldn't help myself. I was just I screamed. And maybe this is too much information. We have the bathroom is right behind my office, and my 4-year-old had just gone in as they're setting up for the field goal. And they blocked the kick. I scream out. They blocked it, and my son comes out with his pants around his ankles because he just hears me yelling, and he's like,
"Well, Dad, what's going on?"
Yeah. And I was like, they blocked it. And he quick pulls his pants up, and we're running around the house. So it was a great moment in the Bukowski house, I have to tell you.
That's a great story.
Yeah. just kind of serendipitous there. He's going to hate me in 18 years if he hears that story, but that's okay. Parents are made to embarrass their children. So we talked about this a couple weeks ago when the Packers let the Jaguars come back in the game at the end. And I asked you, were you more excited about how they looked at the end with Malik Willis, or frustrated, disappointed with how the defense looked? And you kind of surprised me when you said you were more disappointed with the defense. You are normally a optimist when it comes to this stuff. So same question. Are you more heartened that they found a way to win, or was this worrying to you?
It was, I'll just say I was disappointed by the defense again. Just with how the Bears offense had performed the last month. Again, we've all seen the yardage. We know they were dead last in many categories. yards per game, sacks allowed, everything under the sun. And they just looked a step better today. I don't know if it was just the mid-week coaching change that they made or just the fact that it was Packers-Bears and they just had to up their game and play better ball. But just the way that the Packers defense just couldn't get off the field was disappointing. So it did feel like they truly stole a win from Chicago, and one they probably didn't deserve to win. But the fact that they did win, they'll take it. You said a win is a win is a win. They'll take one any way they can get it. And had they lost this game, I think there would have been a lot of noise about what went wrong, especially coming out of a bye. And the fact that they didn't look as prepared as I think we expected them to look. Because I'll say this, on the opening drive, I thought, man, they've turned a page. It was clean football. They went right down the field and scored. And after that, it was kind of tough sliding until the fourth quarter.
Okay, let's play that game, Lily. Karl Brooks is 3 inches shorter than he is in real life. He misses the kick. Cairo Santos puts that ball through. What is the big story on Monday after the game?
I think outside of the whole, okay, should you have kicked a field goal or gone for it on fourth down? That would be, of course, right? And the decision that Matt LaFleur made there. And do you trust analytics or do you trust, hey, I just need 3 points in a 5-point game? That I'm sure would have been talked about a lot. But I think it's also the fact that the Bears beat the Packers for the first time in 11 games. That would be another one. And the fact that this is still a team that wants to make the playoffs, the Packers, you're 0-3 in the division. What's going on? Why can't you right the ship? So there would have been a lot more questions had Karl Brooks' finger not gotten on the tip of that football. The Packers lost.
What did you think of Matt LaFleur's decision there? Because the analytics, interestingly, I follow the Ben Baldwin has a bot that spits out the numbers, and they had it as a dead toss-up because you're unlikely to convert 4th and 6, but you're turning a 1-score game into a 1-score game. So in the moment, what was your feeling on the right decision there?
I think I understand the whole all gas, no brakes approach because you're kind of banking on this team. You just need 6 yards. I mean, you can get it. It shouldn't be that difficult, right? I mean, shoot, they had 4 tries from the 8-yard line, couldn't punch it in. But I think for me, I'm always kind of on the more conservative side of things. Probably why that's not why I'm not a coach, because I would have said just kick it, get the 3 points, and live to fight another day or another down because there was still plenty of time left on the clock at that point. It wasn't like it was
11 or so minutes. Yeah,
there's plenty of time left on the clock. You kick a field goal, you get 2 points closer, and then at the end, you're playing for a field goal to win versus a touchdown, and vice versa. So, in my opinion, I would have elected to kick a field goal, but that's why I'm not the head coach. And Matt LaFleur thought differently. And unfortunately, it didn't pan out well, but it didn't cost them at the end.
You had to get the stop no matter what, right? And they get the stop that they needed. They score the touchdown, and then we get to say they ended up doing exactly what the take the points crowd wants. They get the field goal, and then they get the other field goal, except they made it a touchdown with no 2-point conversion, so they get the 6 either way. And it plays out much in much the similar way that it would have otherwise. Now, if you get the touchdown, of course, you look like a genius. You take the points, and then if you get the touchdown, but there's no guarantee that you get the touchdown after that. There's no guarantee if the Bears need a touchdown. Like they were so conservative, like Matt Eberflus, speaking of decisions, to let the clock run. I mean, to waste 30 seconds when you have the timeout, you have to think if they need a touchdown there, they're going to go, right?
100%. And that's why I was curious as to why they didn't get extra yardage for their kicker, but I know that was explained. But you're right. If they were playing for a touchdown, they're going for it no matter what. And they're trying to get as many plays in as they can to take some shots in the end zone. So, yeah, they're going to play it differently there had it been, a bigger deficit and they needed that score. So, yeah, it all kind of just, panned out differently because had he kicked a field goal, we're talking about a different scenario at the end of the game. So maybe it didn't work out in the Packers' favor that way, that they didn't want to get any closer for Cairo Santos and they wanted him to kick that 46-yarder, and that's what happened.
What was the atmosphere like post-game? Because NFL players, they first of all, they know how hard it is to win. But also they kind of know when they get away with one. Like they know, like we didn't play our best and we won. And like, that's nice. But sometimes teams, immature teams in particular, will get a little too happy about a win that they probably didn't deserve to have. So what was the mood? You're a resident vibes expert in the locker room. What were the vibes after the game?
I'll just say the guys coming off the field were ecstatic. Again, I think anytime you come off the field in a win and you're excited, that just proves that, okay, we might not have deserved to win this game, but we won the game, and the way that we won it, heck yeah, that was a great win against the Bears. We're going to take it. So these guys were fired up. I mean, it wasn't any sort of, there were no solemn faces like, okay, we got away with one. It was, these guys were pumped. I mean, Rashawn Gary was screaming down, walking into the locker room, same with Jaden Reed, Sean Ryan in the locker room. I mean, the music was so loud, Peter, that I couldn't really hear what guys were saying. It was that loud. So they were having a good old time there after that win.
Listen, you got to enjoy it when you beat the Bears in a rivalry. If you're going to spend all week talking about it, Matt LaFleur said they are adamant that these guys understand the magnitude of this rivalry. You can't spend all week saying this is a huge game and then not celebrate the win. Then it becomes, how can you flush it and get to the next step? I thought Jordan Love, aside from one throw, looked awesome in this game. Looked like the Jordan Love that we are expecting him to be on a consistent basis against a really good Chicago Bears pass defense. How different did he look to you? How healthy did he look to you?
He looked as healthy as he basically has all season long, right? Since that first game against the Eagles. And I think you just saw it with the mobility. I think, again, just going back to that opening drive, that's peak Packers offense. I mean, they were moving the ball down the Bears' throat at will. They didn't face 1 third down on that opening drive, which was impressive.
Yeah.
It was the quintessential Aaron Rodgers free play touchdown that they scored on, right? So that was a classic opening drive. And I love the fact that, they got the ball and they went right down the field and scored. So I think that version of Jordan Love is kind of what we expect to see the rest of the way. Outside of that interception where that throw was too high for Tucker Kraft and it just lands in the hand of a Bears defender, that's tough. And the fact that he was able to respond, I think, especially late in the game, right? Throwing a 48-yarder to Christian Watson, throwing a 60-yarder to Christian Watson. The response from him is there, but I think the mobility, when he is as healthy as he can be, that's the best version of Jordan Love. And we saw a version of that on Sunday.
Coming back at you with more with Lily Zhao next on Locked On Packers. Listen up, renters. Ever feel like you're stuck in this loop of rent payments, just watching that money vanish into thin air? I feel you. I've been there. That's where Bilt Rewards comes in. It feels sometimes like the money just flies away. But here's the deal. Bilt Rewards has figured out a way to make rent more rewarding. Say goodbye to the money bonfire. No more lighting that money on fire, and say hello to Renter's Revolution with Bilt. Bilt is breaking ground as a neighborhood rewards program that hooks you up with your points for your rent. Every month, pay your rent and watch the Bilt points roll in. By the way, the higher your rent, the more points you can get here. Use points to jet off on a dream vacation. Put your points toward a flight or a hotel stay with over 500 airlines and over 700,000 hotels and properties. You can also use your points to book fitness studio classes, redeem them toward a future rent payment. They're designed to meet your lifestyle. Pay rent hassle-free through the Bilt Reward app. Plus, your rent game just got a major upgrade. Bilt points have been consistently ranked the highest value point currency by the points guys, and Bankrate. Earn points by paying rent. You're going to pay rent anyway. Why not get some points for it? Join Bilt.com/LockedOnNFL. That's joinBilt.com/LockedOnNFL. Make sure to use the URL so they know we sent you. Join Bilt.com/LockedOnNFL to start earning points with your rent payment today. And thanks for making Locked On Packers your first listen every day. Now for your second listen, check out Locked On NFL with 2 shows every day. First, the madman Tyler Rowland kicks off your morning with a double shot of NFL espresso. Then stop by the barbershop with Tony Wiggins for some real NFL talk. Find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts. Are you still buying we have to take the bad with the good with Jordan Love if we want all the high-end stuff? I mean, that's been the company line. That has been what the Packers have been saying all year. That's what Jordan Love has been saying. That is what Matt LaFleur has been saying. It's almost Thanksgiving, Lily. Like, are you still buying that this is a sustainable way to live?
At this point, I think it has to be. I don't think we've been proven
I guess
wrong.
They got to make it work now.
Yeah, I don't think we've been proven wrong. And I'm hoping there's a game this season where Jordan just doesn't turn the ball over and it's a clean game for him. And I know it's 8 straight games now with an interception, and I don't think that's a streak he wants to continue. So hopefully it does end against the Niners. But you might have to just live with it. I mean, even that throw to Christian Watson, the 48-yarder that he made, that could have been picked had, a defender been in a better position. So you talk about the risky throws, but also comes with big rewards. So I think we kind of just have to take it at face value. It is what it is. And that's kind of the version of Jordan Love we have this year, but hopefully the interception rate just goes down the rest of the way.
I do wonder how it changes when he's healthy, because I think a lot of the interceptions were him trying to force something under pressure because he knew he couldn't move. And we saw him so much healthier navigating the pocket. I thought one of the few great points that Tom Brady made on Sunday was he mentioned on that early one to Christian Watson, where he comes back across the field and throws a laser beam to Watson on a stop route. He has to navigate the pocket, step up, and throw a heater. And those are just plays we didn't really see him make most of the year. And those lower body injuries, they can sap even that subtle pocket movement. It's not just like, hey, I've got to escape and run away from guys, which we knew he couldn't do for most of the year. Even in the pocket, that can affect you. So I think if you're the Packers, you're going, look, when he gets healthy, it's going to look different. The approach we talked about last week, and I think the week before, leaning into your best guys. Josh Jacobs was the only running back to get more than 2 carries in this game. Christian Watson, the leading receiver in this game. It seems to me this is the optimal shape for this offense to take. If you could just add one little thing to it, because 8.5 yards per play, 15 yards per attempt, like that's a good day at the office. What is it? How do they get that last little piece to get this offense where it needs to be?
Ooh, that's a good question. I feel like just more Jaden Reed, more Tucker Kraft. I don't think we really saw a lot of those two on Sunday. It was
more
a lot
easy stuff underneath, for sure.
Right. Because you go underneath to Jaden Reed, he gets a seam, he's gone. Same with Tucker Kraft. I mean, just his ability to break tackles has been great this year. So it's Josh Jacobs clearly, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, Tucker Kraft. Get Jaden Reed and Tucker Kraft more involved in the offense, and I think that's when it's at its best. And we didn't really see that. It was more of Christian Watson doing as much as he can, and Josh Jacobs carrying the load on the ground. And Jordan Love obviously making plays with his legs as well, right? Trying to score that touchdown and scoring a touchdown after that. Mm-hmm. So I would say if there's a way to get Jaden and Tucker more involved, I think that's those are the key guys that I think make this offense go.
They're going to have to be because they have not found a way to get Dontavian Wicks going this year, and none of the other receivers have really stepped up. I mean, Romeo Doubs has had his moments. Christian Watson now in this game. I think this is the best shape of the offense. So we'll see how they get it going here. Last thing on the defense here, Lily. The performance that we got from this team, it did not look effort-wise to be to the standard. And it reminded me a lot of the Giants game where they felt like they were going to go into New York and beat that team. And they never matched New York's intensity. New York played with so much more urgency. And by the end, it just didn't matter that the offense wasn't very good, that Tommy DeVito was the quarterback. They were playing with such confidence. Same thing with the Panthers game. You let an NFL team get some rhythm, they can look good by the end of the game. How do you, if you're the Packers, are you just hoping that because you're making a playoff push, that stuff's not going to happen? Like, this is the Bears. There's no way you should come out flat like this, or at any point play flat. How do you fix that?
That's a good question. I mean, I kind of wish this Packers team was like the Lions. I mean, the Lions don't play with their food. They put their opponents away early and they dominate. And that's what we want to see this Packers team eventually get to, because looking at how badly Chicago's offense had struggled, this should have been an easy win. This should have been a lot of 3 and outs. There should have been multiple sacks on Caleb Williams or multiple 3 and outs that they would get, but they couldn't get off the field. I mean, I think the Bears had the ball for, 6 or 10 more minutes than the Packers offense. Mm-hmm. And every
more third down conversions in this game than the last month combined.
Right. 9 for 16. And they were 3 for 3 on 4th down, which is a bad indication.
Crazy.
But it just was the fact that they were trying to pressure Caleb, but he was escaping the pressure with his legs, but also finding open receivers. And they were, easy checkdowns that they were making. So whatever the Bears were doing, again, I don't know if it was a midweek coaching change. It was that we're going to play up because it's the Packers, but it was a disappointing performance. And I think the fact that Jair kind of came in and out and eventually left with a knee injury, that probably didn't help the secondary in terms of putting the guys in the right spots, but it was not the best performance. And it's something that's going to have to change, because the Niners aren't going to play with their food if the Packers offense gives them any sort of opportunity, right? And this is still a tough offense coming into town. So they're going to have to play up to that level if they do want to make any sort of playoff push here.
Yeah, I think if my math is right, the Packers defense 5 for 5 allowing fourth down conversions the last 2 games. That's not a sustainable way for teams to beat them, but like that's tough. Okay, so I had someone ask me this question on Twitter, and I'm going to ask it to you. Is this, to your mind, against the 49ers, one of the biggest games of Matt LaFleur's career to date in the regular season? A chance to put a stranglehold on your playoff positioning and potentially knock a 49ers team out that has been your bugaboo in the playoffs the last couple of years. What do you think? Like, is this any bigger than any other NFC game that they're going to face the rest of the way?
Certainly. I think with the way that these two teams ended, especially with the Packers, how they ended their season against San Francisco, I'm sure there's going to be a chip on the shoulder of a majority of these guys because a lot of them are back. And the fact that they're playing a majority of the same guys on the Niners and they're coming into town in Lambeau with the records that they have, with
prime time, baby.
Prime time, and the fact that they both want to make a playoff push. The Packers need to win at least 10 games to sniff the playoffs because of just how stacked the NFC is. They got to win this game. And the fact that Kyle Shanahan has had Matt LaFleur's number, so many times in their careers, I know Matt LaFleur probably wants to get this one too. And the fact that there have been so many heartbreaking playoff losses to the Niners, I'm sure just eats at Packers fans too, that this is such a big game. If they can win in the regular season, it would just put a big stamp on, okay, we haven't played the best football to date yet, but oh man, this would be a big win for our team. So hopefully this will be a statement win for them and a statement game in terms of getting the Packers back on the right track, and that's playing better football.
Robert Saleh on the Packers side this time around. Maybe that makes a difference. We'll see. Lily, back next week. We will get to talk about all of that. Can the Packers put a nail in the 49ers playoff coffin? We will see coming up very soon. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks, Lily.
Thanks, Peter.
All right. Thanks to Lily for joining the show. Awesome to talk with her, as always. Big week here on Locked On Packers. Dante Whitner, former San Francisco 49ers, going to join us on the show on Friday. We've got our Locked On crossover on Thursday. Still working on what we're going to do tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to solo that one or if we're going to have a guest. We'll see. But this is going to be a fun week. And so is next week. We've got Thanksgiving game, Miami Dolphins coming to Lambeau. Hopefully it's going to be cold. Hopefully it's going to be, who knows, maybe get a little snow on Thanksgiving. That'd be fun. Follow me on the social medias, Peter_Bukowski over on the Blue Skies. We're over there. Hung out over there a little bit during game day. I was on both Twitter and Blue Sky, just checking back and forth, seeing what's going on over there. We're now on Blue Sky, Locked On Packers. So come check us out over there, and always subscribe wherever you find podcasts. We're there, plus YouTube, so you can stay Locked On Packers.